Hello. How's everybody doing today? My name is Solemn. And Smith, I'm glad you're doing fantastic. Rums, how are you doing today?
I am doing just swell.
Excellent, excellent. Well, today is Wednesday, 8/34, September 30th of 2020,
Okay.
and we're here for the OneTap podcast. I'm excited. I don't know. You guys probably can't see it because the way I have my camera cropped. Got a new mic. Please let me know if it sounds good on the podcast because I've first time of using long exposition and stuff talking on it. But I think we've got the
Sounds
setup. We've gone through 4 different setups so far and kind of orientations and stuff, you know, going back to my AV nerd days back in high school. So we'll see exactly how this is always working. But man, I've had a good week. I don't know about you guys. I've promoed twice, which is kind of sick. Getting consistent back, kind of more of a groove. I found more success in actuality playing in like a duo and a trio than playing in like a 5-stack. I still love playing in a 5-stack, but I think the algorithm and the way that it works out for matchmaking is more geared towards 2 to 3 stacks.
Trios.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. Like I said, I got a new mic, boom arm, studio mic, pop filter, all the bells and whistles. It's very nice. I like it. And the school's going pretty good. So we're hanging out.
Nice.
Smith is back today.
I am.
He's joining us because he's
Welcome
fixed his issues. So Smith, what happened, bud?
So, just like age of PC problems, things are starting to go bad. I'm very much in the starting to think about upgrading the PC mindset. Most of my components are 5 to 7 years old.
Ooh.
So I mean, it's very much in the it's time setting. And
It's an eternity in the jungle.
It's a very long time.
It very much is. But I will say, if you look at it compared to like consoles, it still runs most games at like medium to high, no problem. But like you sit there and think like, if I would go back 7 years ago in console, it's vastly different. So,
All right.
it's one of those things. I'm like, okay, it's definitely time to send it to the farm, and
Send it upstate. It's understandable.
The office in the sky.
Do you clean your PC? Like, do you get in there and like dust it and stuff constantly? Because I know you got pets. So,
dude, I do. I try to get it about once a month, once every other month, or something like that. At least I actually got one of those like plug-in air blowers instead of having to keep buying the cans of the spray.
oh, dude,
Just
you need to
vacuum.
link me that.
Just vacuum it, bro.
Link me the
Oh
small.
my God, no.
Link me the small air blower.
For anybody
I need
listening,
one.
please don't vacuum
great.
your PC.
Yes, don't
do
do
not
that.
vacuum your PC.
We do not condone bad practice.
Yeah, I will say it makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
But so PC problems resolved. Since I missed a week
Excellent.
since last I was on the show, I got my Xbox Series X ordered.
Sell out.
To kind of keep that up. I still have a lot of friends that play Xbox, so it's balancing both worlds.
Well, with some
but
interesting data mining facts that we'll get to later in the show that I'm going to bring up spur of the moment on you guys. That might be a pretty good investment.
okay, well, either way, it's I like it. It's a good backup thing for whenever I can't be sitting at my PC. But other than that, I mean, like I said, when my PC was down, I played a lot of Switch, played a lot of Hades. I know you did as well, Saul.
Yes. So
good. I didn't beat it, but I'm very much just like I need to keep unlocking stuff and things like that. It's a great roguelike. So getting back in the Valorant grind, a little bit rusty for sure. So trying to shake that off, but doing a little bit of League of Legends as well. So it's been a good week, but ready to get back into it.
I hear you. And of course, faithful duo partner Rubs. What you been doing, man?
Smithel, if you're feeling a little cold, have you bothered to check your DPI settings?
All right.
Like one of our other
You know what?
hosts?
I don't want to hear it. Okay.
Maybe that's it. I'm wondering why I sit there and overshoot everything all of a sudden.
Listen.
Perhaps you have about triple the DPI that you're usually used to.
Listen. I don't need your sass.
Anyway.
Okay.
My week went well. I finally got out of Gold 1. Getting back into Plat in the coming weeks. I hit Plat 1 just at the start of this act, and would love to get back there.
We got 12 days.
It's a different world up there, and it's very much fun. But yeah, man, other than that, been playing a lot of No Man's Sky. The update is radical.
Yeah.
I think the game now is kind of what it should have been at launch. But
we got there eventually.
we're going to digress on that point because there's probably a lot of feelings on that in the gaming scene.
Listen.
So we're gonna put a pin in it.
If I can ever snag it for like $20, I'll think about it. Maybe
It's $30 right now. It's on sale.
I said $20, not 30. You must have misheard me. So anyway, we're gonna get into our news topics for the week. Riot Rito Gods did bless us with a patch that was on time today. What's up, Gabster? Glad to see you back again. Riot did bless us with a patch today on time, so we can prepare for it on the show instead of having to react to it on the show. Patch 1.09 did drop. Smith'll give me the quick and dirty on this patch. What happened?
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting patch. I mean, there's a lot of stuff into it. I'm not going to go into too many details because there's obviously one big thing we want to talk about. So I'm going to rush through a lot of it so we can get to the big meat of it. But there were some agent changes. Obviously, Omen's paranoid projectile changed, so this way it looks like the actual hitbox, especially when it's coming right at you, which is nice. Jet had some changes. The time between consecutive burst fires has increased. The daggers thrown in burst now have a damage fall off. I know, like, Rums is sitting here just dying inside because his baby's, slowly going the way of my sage. But, the headshot multiplier on burst fire is also down. So, yeah, a couple jet nerfs, probably well needed. They are still trying to figure out what to do with Viper. They buffed her again. So basically now she starts at 100% fuel, where before she started at 50.
It's a good change.
Yeah, which I agree. It was just too fast, especially at the beginning of the match. The vulnerable debuff applied from Snakebite now lingers, as opposed to just immediately dropping off. The big ones are obviously, as somebody that kind of likes Viper, is the move speed is basically doubled when you're casting the ult, which is nice because before you were kind of just like a sitting target.
It's true.
And then after casting it, you equip your weapon significantly faster.
That was a horrible aspect of Viper's ultimate. The fact that as soon as you cast it, there's this big circle, and as long as you spray that circle, you're probably going to get chip damage, if not a kill.
Right.
So it's good to see.
Yeah.
Good change.
The title says econ. It is because it is econ 101 today.
No,
we're gonna
get to that. Eon.
No.
Eon.
Eon.
Get your spelling right, Solon. What are you
Eon 101. How many years is an Eon?
Okay, should be fixed.
Somebody in the chat. Tell me how many years is in an Eon.
Well, Brian will tell us.
And then the final two changes. Reyna, basically fire rate bonus decreased from 25 to 15% whenever she's in her ult. And Brimstone, his fire rate increases with Stim Beacon.
Yes.
So went through those really, really fast. But the reason why is because there were operator changes.
Yes.
Which is the hot topic. This is a very bad week for Rums.
Rums got slapped this week.
So we'll kind of go through them a little bit of time, and Rums being our resident opera, let us know your thoughts. But price increase, 4,500 to 5,000.
Needed.
I feel like it needed it. I think when we even did our off episode, that's something that we all kind of said was, we like the power, but it's a little too cheap for it.
Yep. Being able to full buy round 3 is kind of good, especially when you can snowball really easily.
Kind of really good.
Yep.
But,
So significantly less hero ops will be seen in the future. We also, the decreased scope movement went from 76 to 72%. Again, as an opera, I don't know how much that feels like.
A lot.
It feels slower.
It's a lot. You notice it for sure.
It's nothing that like stops or inhibits your ability to use it, but it definitely feels like you're kind of kind of lugging around a little bit.
But you kind of should feel like that, I'd imagine.
Correct.
I mean, you that's kind of the downside of playing a sniper is you're more or less a sitting target. You should feel a little vulnerable.
Yeah.
They adjusted the weapon dead zone from basically becoming inaccurate at 30% movement speed to 15%.
Yep.
So basically you become inaccurate significantly sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And you go when you stop, it's going to take you a little bit longer to get that pinpoint precision. The fire rate reduced from 0.75 to 0.6.
That is honestly the biggest change that I feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Moving around with the operator, the decreased scoped movement speed, you feel it. The dead zone, you feel it. But if you're on point with your counter strafe, or if you're on point with just kind of knowing the mechanics of movement, and you're in tune with how you're moving, it's not a huge deal. If you know that you're stopped, and when you know that you're stopped, not a big problem. The firing rate, though, feels a little atrocious.
Yeah.
Because it's a shot ring, and then it's a very slow chink chink. It's not like it feels a little slow to me. I understand why they nerfed the fire rate, but
so
when you guys I'll give my opinion when it's asked for because I have a lot to say.
So you think it'll be easier for now teams to basically push into an operator? Because
yes,
significantly less chance of getting hit.
This change happened in CS with the op a long time ago. You used to be able to ready up a new bolt in the op a lot quicker than you do now, and they changed that. And the workaround was you switching to another weapon to defend yourself and then switching back, because if you instantly swap pistol out of scope and then back into the other one, the descope time and the ready up time is actually slightly faster sometimes than you're rechambering. So it kind of opens up that kind of skill plate of you missed a shot, all right, I got to reposition a little bit, you swap the instant swap back around to ready thing.
Yep.
Because the equip time is still 0.5 rather than 0.6.
Interesting. Yeah, that's something I would never thought to do. Again, I'm readily admittedly not a sniper. What other changes? So we also saw that there was an instant equip time adjusted from 0.3 to 0.5. So basically, they say instant equip plays after tapping orb, bomb defuse plant, jet cloudburst, and the Phoenix curveball, all that good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's a big one. And then leg shot. Nobody cares about leg shot. You take 120 now instead of 127.
The only notable difference there is I think it takes 2 classic shots now as opposed to a leg and a classic shot. So it's a leg and then 2 classics, and then you can
or
kill.
a leg and a right click.
Or a leg and a right click. But
Before
before we move on, I'll give my thoughts on the operator nerf. I think they're good changes. Okay, and I'm going to lead off with that.
I hear ya.
I'm going to caveat and say that they did too much too fast.
Can see that.
I don't believe that the operator necessarily was out of balance. Okay. I think it was a little underpriced for what it was. But I think when you have an agent like Jet on the operator, it really accentuates those strengths of being able to re-peak with little to no drawback. So I would have liked to have seen Jet-specific operator nerfs as opposed to operator as a whole nerfs. Because without the movement of Jet, the operator feels just a hair too slow now.
Yeah.
Because other agents don't have anything in their utility to be able to use the op appropriately now. Okay. So I like the changes. I just think they did too much too fast with the value changes. I would have liked to have seen incremental nerfs to the operator, and I would have liked to have seen nerfs to Jet first.
What would you like to see them kind of roll back or adjust first if they agree that they went too far too fast?
I mean, truthfully, Riot's been very good about communicating visions with the player base. I think that's something that they have done quite well for a developer. A lot of the developers nowadays don't have that clarity with their player base, and I really respect what Riot's doing, sharing their vision. I think it's kind of hard to roll back changes. It takes a lot for a developer to swallow their pride and say, hey, we messed up. I think Riot is capable of that. But what I would like them to see roll back is probably the movement speed. I don't think the movement speed makes that big of a difference. The firing rate, I would like to see pushed back up. I think the dead zone you can leave lower, but the firing rate, I would like to have see at least chop it in half.
So you're shaking your head.
No. Listen, one thing I've learned. So the fire rate where it is now is going to take some adjusting, obviously, because we've been playing for so long in the 0.75 with the operator. Yeah. But a lot of people, and I do it all the time. I draw the comparison to CSGO because that's the next closest game. That game, you move and can peek and position yourself so much faster that the op firing faster makes sense in order for it to do what it's designed to do. Whereas in this game, it's a lot more slow. And the movement is a lot slower. So the op firing slower will inherently make it feel more balanced and less oppressive as far as holding lanes go.
See, but I think the thing is, and the difference between Saul, your and I opinion, is that I don't think the op is necessarily aggressive by itself or oppressive by itself. No, I think it's the operator in tandem with Jet that makes it so oppressive.
That's for sure. So
I think for the rest of the agents, it's fine to keep that firing rate up because Jet is what's making the operator overpowered. It's not the operator by itself.
Yeah. No, and they made some Jet changes, which, is it helps and kind of keep her kind of in tandem.
Yeah.
And we'll see how they kind of interact and mesh together to see how it goes. But if you're going to be playing the operator, you're most likely going to be playing Jet. And so the primary balance needs to keep in mind who's primarily holding the op, and you can't balance the game in another way.
Right.
Because it doesn't remove the factor of other people playing the op, but it makes it a lot
And puts them
better.
at a disadvantage.
Yeah, but it makes it a lot better for the other people that are going to play with the op outside of Jet. So I think it'll even out a little bit better than we're expecting. We just kind of have to see the results because it's only been a couple days.
So here's the question too: if you would have liked to see more Jet specific nerf as far as the operator's concerned, who would be the next agent to pick up the op? If Jet gets hit, like you said, too hard, and they say, okay, maybe there should be something else. What agent do you think would be next best suited to be your primary offer?
So, I mean, obviously there's some agents that perform better in the operator scenario just based off of their kit. I think Breach is actually coming up as one of the premier operators just because he has that support long-range kit. I think he's exceeds at being able to support his team while being able to hold the operator lane. After Breach, I'd probably say Raze. Sage, when she was viable, was a very good operator pick.
She's still viable.
She's still viable in niche scenarios. I wouldn't call her absolutely useless, but I don't think she's a must pick up like she was.
Yeah.
So Breach, Raze, Sage, Sova can play a good scenario operator. You see,
I like him in secondary.
Shazam goes to the Sova operator at times. So he's a good kind of backup role. I think all four of those agents are pretty good at picking up that operator.
I would agree. But anyway, as for our main topic today, we're talking about eco or econ or economics, whatever you want to call it. In Valorant, obviously, you have credits that you earn throughout the game, whether it be through a kill or through bomb plants or through winning a round or through losing or through lost streaking. And the way that you use this money can be the difference between winning a game and losing a game, and understanding the different points in the game on which you need to be using these kind of different eco strategies. So in the beginning of the game, you start out on pistol round. And in pistol round, you have a couple of options, and you need to focus on one or two different kind of things, right? Which is you can start with a ghost and some utils, or you can start full utils and armor, or some agents just full utilities. Usually those characters are kind of like Breach. Breach round one, a lot of the times you'll find people going full flash and the explosion and a classic, just don't worry about the armor. And what you want to think about is kind of where your position and what role you're playing. So a lot of the time these entry agents and these kind of high frag roles will tend to pick up a ghost, whereas your more supportive agents that rely more on a util to make an impact will kind of carry a classic in this first round. And the importance of the first round is it actually sets the tone for the next two rounds of the game, which, if you think about it, is almost a fourth of the entirety of the game, depending on how the rounds actually go.
Right.
So,
very important. I think it depends too. A lot of econ discussion is going to be very dependent upon the individual player. There's going to be some times where it's going to be a binary choice. Like if you have the money and the rest of your team's buying, yeah, you should probably buy. Obviously, there's going to be certain scenarios where you're going to stray away from that. But it just takes a little bit of thought. Like, what would the team need best right now? Say you're a player, 4 out of 5 of your team has bought ghosts, right?
Yeah.
Is it necessarily going to be beneficial for you to pick up a ghost when there's 4 other ones on the team? No, maybe not. So you might consider picking up light armor, and if your teammate dies, picking up their ghost. It's just it's a something that you have to think about in any given round. Right?
For sure. And so the way that I want you to think about this is you earn credits obviously by you go in to get kills. So every time you get a kill, I think it's like 200 credits per kill. There's no knife bonus in this game like there is in CS, and then if you win a round you get 3,000. If you lose a round you get 1,900, and then if you lose a second round and continue to loss streak you make 2,900 for every round after that. And the points that you need to be focused on in your eco is understanding the different kind of buys that you can kind of take in the round. So buying in this game, you'll hear it a lot, full buy or half buy, or you could talk about kind of a full save or kind of an anti-eco. And all of these terms seem kind of far-fetched if you're unfamiliar with the genre, right? So I want to start first and foremost, we're going to start with small buying, which is usually what happens in the rounds 2 and 3. for depending on your situation. So we're gonna walk into a game scenario where we say, okay, you start on pistol round, you take what you're comfortable with, ghost, or you'll talk about losing twice gives 24. I thought it was 29. I'm sorry. Thrice is 29. That's my bad, Clap. Thank you for the clarification.
Good correction.
So one round is 19, 24, and then 29. So in the game, if you win the first round, okay, on pistols, you're gonna come out of there with $3,000. That's not enough to full buy. Okay, full buying is being able to buy a rifle at 2,900, a full shield at 1,000, and then some utils which have varying prices throughout the different agents and that kind of thing. So, Pluto, we'll get to that question near the end of the cast. We'll take a Q&A at the end of the cast. So the eco in this situation is, all right, I have 3,000 plus, let's say you got a kill, you have 3,200. You want to generally use, Pluto, thanks for the follow, buddy. I appreciate that. You generally want to use your eco to your advantage in round 2 to try to snowball into rounds 3 and 4. But you should never buy a weapon you aren't willing to keep in the next round.
Right.
So a lot of the times you'll see things like people say, I want to buy a deagle or I'm going to buy a stinger round 2. And yes, those are better weapons than a classic. But going into round 3, if you win those first 2 rounds, the other team's probably going to have, Vandals and Phantoms, and you're going to lose those gunfights 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
So being able to buy things like a Spectre or a Bulldog or a Scout, Judge, those kind of still give you an advantage to maybe go 3-0 to start the game, or even 2-1 at worst.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not good.
Go ahead, Smith, please.
I was gonna say, it's one of those things too. Whenever you're sitting there and trying to determine on the short buy what to basically go after, you almost have to look at it one round in advance and say, okay, assuming we win this and that they're all on rifles because they save, how do I have to adjust my playstyle for the gun that I'm still holding?
Right.
So, like you said, if you do have that stinger, you may have to play a little more aggressive and get in their face, whereas they're going to want to try to take these long fights.
Yeah, very, very important to note, knowing how to play on your econ round. And when we use econ, we're just basically saying something where it's something less than a full buy, right? You could half buy and it's still considered an eco, but a full eco, half eco, those terms are kind of used interchangeably. But you have to change up your style of play for the gun that you're holding, just like Smith said.
100%.
Very important to know the strengths of your weapon and the strengths of the angles that you're going to take. I think it's very important to note, too, that when you're in your eco round, you should be doing things to take advantage wherever you can, whether that be ult orbs or whether that be, off angles where the enemy is not necessarily going to expect that judge or that shorty. But I think something that's very important that a lot of lower elo players don't do is take control of those ultimate orbs on eco rounds.
Yep.
Very important to get really aggressive on those ultimate orbs, because if nothing else, if you don't get kills, you're going to get at least two ultimate orbs in that round. You're going to get one for either dying or picking up a kill, and then you're going to get another one for picking up that ult orb. So it's very easy to get 3 ult orbs in one eco round, which can set yourself and your team up for success for when you're on a full buy.
Right. And it's another huge thing to kind of manage this idea of when and where to play your guns. So going back to this kind of initial, this initial standpoint where we go into the game, I won round 1, I bought a Spectre, full shields, I bought my main utilities, but not all of it. And we won round 2. So now we're going into round 3. So you get out, you need to rebuy your armor, you fill it on your utils, and I'm like, all right, I got like 2,600. I could buy a Bulldog, but don't sell or don't drop your Spectre just for the Bulldog. You keep those weapons. You go, okay, I'm on an SMG. They're probably going to have assault rifles. I need to play this short angle here or this short pathway here instead of trying to take a long flank or something like that. You want to take advantage for the fights you've equipped yourselves with.
Yeah, but that being said, when you take that fight and if you win it and you have a chance to grab their Phantom or grab their Vandal, absolutely.
You take the upgrade.
Upgrade your gun.
That's a free buy.
Off the weapons and get it.
That's effectively netting you $2,900 on the next round.
Exactly.
Which will allow you to buy for a teammate that died or a teammate that's having a rough game and can't kind of create their own eco.
I mean, and I'm sure you guys see less of that and gold and getting close to plat, but definitely in low silver and such. I cannot tell you how many times I'll see somebody take a fight with a Bucky, win against a Phantom, and then just
Just
run
keep
away
running.
and leave the Phantom there. And I'm like,
No.
pick up the better gun. Pick up the better gun.
For sure. And that's kind of where you kind of set yourself up. And now the difference is knowing when you are going to be on an eco and when you can continue to buy throughout the round, whether you're winning or losing. Obviously, if you've won a couple of rounds, you should have some money stockpiled. This is where there's a little tooltip actually in the game. I don't know if you guys know about it.
I was going to mention it.
Up by when you go into the buy screen, over onto the left, you'll see character portraits and what they're buying. And if you look underneath it, it'll tell you minimum next round, and it's the guaranteed minimum you have if you lose and don't get a kill. That's how much money you have. So if that money right there is at 3,900, then you have at least shields and a rifle. And if it's sitting at like 42 to 44, that's enough for most agents to be able to full buy their whole kit. So that's kind of your golden number that you want to be sitting at.
Yeah, and that tooltip makes it very, very easy to learn the Valorant eco. It's been a while since I've touched CS:GO, but I'm not positive that CS:GO has that.
You do the math yourself and learn how to do quick numbers in your head. That's why I passed math class in high school.
Yes.
So,
so take advantage of that tooltip, guys.
100%.
Very, very good.
Now, the other side of this, what if you go into round one in pistol and you lose? If you lose, you get 1,900, and you want to try to guarantee that you have 2,000 in the second round. That's where you want your end bank to be, whether you buy light shields, you buy some utils but don't use them and kind of try to save them for the next round. But you're on usually what's called an anti-eco. And there's a couple of times that this might come up through the game, but it happens a lot on round 2. And when I say anti-eco, your goal is to try to strip weapons from the other team to put yourself into a position. You don't care about winning the round because the round doesn't matter. All you care about is trying to set them back on their eco. Because if most of them are buying round 2, and you buy round 2, they're going to have better weapons. And then if they kill you, you're behind 2 rounds instead of 1 round. So then presumably they take 3 and 4. And now you're already almost halfway through the half with almost no wins, most likely. Because the ecos, the quality of your weapons matter that much in a game like Valorant. So by taking this anti-eco, stacking up as a 5 stack or a 4 stack, and bull rushing onto site, trying to just classic somebody down, pick up a gun, toss it to your top frag, and then keep moving onto the site. You try to snowball a momentum a little bit because you should have man advantage, 5-man pushing onto a site.
Correct.
Almost always.
Yeah. So this anti-eco strategy is kind of a more of an advanced concept. But if you can take this kind of, if you take anything from what we're talking about today, take the idea of saying, okay, well, sometimes we need to just throw the round to get enough weapons or kills to try to set us up on the next round. You're not setting yourself up by getting money. You're setting it up by knocking the other team down a peg.
Right. And just remember that takes kind of careful communication between you and your teammates.
Always
talk. You can anti-eco and just take those lanes, like Saul was saying earlier, take those lanes with like a shorty or a bucky, you know? That's a version of anti-eco, but the more hard anti-eco is where you're bull rushing 5 games. So
Yep.
And
important to talk to your teammates always.
For sure. Always be communicating. Always be talking. That's super important. And then the next thing you want to look at is understanding the makeup of how you want to buy. A lot of the times, especially when you're in a solo queue environment, you'll think, I have enough money to buy, I'm going to buy. Or, oh, we're losing, I have enough to get a rifle, I'll get the rifle and a light shield, and I'll win the game or I'll win the round for my team. And a lot of times, that's just not going to happen. Unless you're, super cracked and you're a god and you're just better than everybody else. And sometimes you have those games. I've had those games. I've seen other people have those games. Unless that's going on, you buying a AK and light shields against the enemy team who has $9,000 going into the round isn't going to actually help your team at all unless you get 3 kills.
Right.
Because then you can expect at least 2 of your teammates to 2-team 1 guy, maybe, and steal a rifle from the enemy team to set you up in an okay position. And by doing that, you're basically costing your team an extra 3K on the next round when they might be able to buy. So being able to synchronize your buys is incredibly important, which is kind of where establishing the communication and understanding about, okay, well, on round 3, I should have rifle money if I lost, or on round 3, I should be able to put up a fight if I bought round 2, or round 5 is the round that we come online with full kits. That's what we're playing towards. So we need to save round 3, or we need to save round 4 to make sure we have the operator ready to go because we have an operator man on the team. Understanding that concept can take your gameplay from playing at a bronze 1 iron level and jacking you almost all the way up to gold, where people kind of start to understand this more advanced concept of the game. So I don't know if you guys see that. I know me and Rum see it all the time, but
all good points.
Smithel, what are the kind of things that you see in bronze, what do you see as far as the eco go? What are the mistakes
Yeah,
and stuff that you might see?
So bronze and silver is very much it's like League or any other kind of MMORPG or something like that. That like you or not MMORPG, MOBA. That everybody in bronze and silver feels like they're challenger and they're just misplaced.
Yep.
And that's the problem because everybody has that ego where you sit there and say like, hey, don't buy the rifle and the light shields because you're really hurting your team. But everybody has that I'm Rambo, I'm gonna sit there and
bro.
yeah, I'm gonna get an ace every round kind of mentality. And so you very, very much have to not be afraid to at least be in comms. And if you can't do that, then sit there and click on that I'm saving button and just kind of like almost spam it to sit there and say, like, I'm saving, I'm saving. Guys, save. You need to sit
just
there
get on the comms. Let them know what's going on.
You need to sit there and find a way to make sure the team understands that I'm saving and here's why. Because that may trigger them to sit there and look and say, oh, okay, I see why, because not everybody's going to be able to full buy this round. They're not going to be able to full buy next round. So it comes down to communication and then just working around egos, very much in like bronze and silver. And it does help. I think you said, maybe duo or trio or something like that. That helps a lot, especially in low elos.
Yes.
Just because if they hear 2 or 3 people saying, yeah, we're going to save, the stragglers, the people that came in as a solo queue or the duo that came into the trio, they're very much more likely to say, okay, those guys are doing it. We're going to follow suit. So if you get a chance and you have a partner, pick up a partner, go in.
Oh, yeah.
That'll help them out immensely when you're talking eco.
Yeah, no, queuing as a group is definitely a big thing. And with the new operator changes and it being so expensive, I know a lot of the times you'd have people buy round 2, except for the operator who'd full save, and you'd like toss them a ghost or something like that from round 1. Rums,
Sure.
What kind of new strategies do you think might need to come into play in order to establish an operator by round 3? Or are we looking as round 4 as kind of the online full team comp now?
I think it's going to be pretty close to round 4, round 3 with light shields.
Okay.
Almost guaranteed round 3 with light shields if you get 0 kills and you don't do anything that will gain you extra money, such as spike plants and spike diffuse.
Yes.
With that extra 500 credits, you're starting to look at needing to pick up a frag or 2 in those first 2 rounds.
Right.
And get a plant or a diffuse. If you get doing quick math in my head, I don't remember if spike plants is 200 or 300. It's 300. Yeah, so you can almost make up the difference with a frag and a plant, just in those 2 rounds, right?
Yep.
Which because the difference is 500. So you need to make up that 500 between rounds 1 and 2 in order to make it work by round 3. Where previously you could make it work by round 3 just by not doing anything.
Right.
So a frag and a plant, or
2 plants, 3 kills,
2 frags, 1 round, 3 frags, another round. Any combination of those can make it work. It's just going to be a matter of getting that to actually happen.
Yeah.
Other than that, you're looking at operator round 4.
Yeah, which I think is more in line to I think what they were talking about. But
Right.
Understanding like kind of when that online point is will help you benefit massively as far as winning those rounds go, because this game's played a lot off of momentum.
Right.
And establishing that kind of early momentum in this round 1, I talk about it a lot. You'll hear me talk about it in the Discord if you ever kind of hop into one of the conversations. What how about early game and mid game and late game for halves? And the early game on the half is like rounds 1 to 3, where I'm talking about carrying your momentum of a pistol round into winning the next 2 rounds. Where the mid game is kind of this 4 to 6 portion, 4 to 7 portion, where you're really focused on establishing your strategy that you want to play and committing to that strategy and executing it properly. And then going into the end game is where you try to manage. You go, okay, we're down by 1 round and we're kind of low on eco. Let's save 1, give them another round, and try to win the next 2 to go into the half. Where the game's almost over, we need to force buy and just spend everything we can to have the best weapons we can and try to sneak around. And knowing the difference on when to do those things comes with a lot of practice. Kind of knowing when you're pressured because of round deficit, or knowing when you're pressured because they're going to have full weapons and you haven't been winning on a half buy, so you need to force the Vandal. Or you guys need to force the hero op or something like that, just to try to get a little bit of a momentum swing. Comes with experience and playing. It's not something you can really just kind of learn or over like the course of a video.
I will say the few things that you can learn is that if the enemy team is on match point and you're down a couple of rounds, you're going to have to force out.
You just you buy all the time.
If they're getting ready to win and they are 1 round away from winning, that is not the time to save.
For sure.
Right? That is the time to pick up anything you possibly can to prevent them from winning their round.
Yeah.
That on round two, you're pretty much always going to buy if you win the first round, and buying could be, any combination of just shields and a ghost. It could be a specter if you got the creds. It just depends on how you choose to leverage that.
And always be in tandem with the team.
Right. Those are probably about the only 2 times that you can learn for sure what to do. Mm-hmm. The rest is just going to be kind of reading the room and just making it work.
Yeah.
An interesting eco piece that I have for potential Jet players in the chat is if you have blades and you have a gun in your hand and you forced for that gun and you're out of money, don't blades that round.
No, use the gun.
Right? Yeah. Just use the gun, and then if you win, all right, great. You get to keep your gun and you get to save a little bit of money. But if you lose, guess what?
You have blades.
You have blades. And then you can just buy some armor.
It's a free
rifle. And then you have blades, and you can have that rifle to take away rifles from the enemy team and put rifles on your team. Good ability or good chances to be able to snowball the round with Bladestorm.
Yeah, knowing when to carry your momentum is it's kind of where eco stands point. But knowing when and how to save is kind of the chemical makeup to kind of take your game from bronze into silver at the very least, and it'll just single-handedly carry. Even if you're not the best aimer, knowing how to leverage weapons at the right time will just help you win rounds that you otherwise might have lost because you just have a game advantage over them. Right. It takes a lot of aim to make up the difference between an SMG and a rifle, or a ghost and a rifle. So anyway, that's kind of it. All I have on eco. It's kind of a short and sweet topic. It's a lot of playing, a lot of practice, a lot of experiencing as far as the way the game goes and learning the chemical makeup. If you guys want an in-depth breakdown of where the rounds are, what they're for, and buy patterns and things like that, I'd be happy to break it down for you. It'd be something I'm down to do. I have a document already written up, actually. I'd be down to do a video on that, a bit of a longer, kind of a longer standpoint. But we had some questions going on in the chat. Specifically, we had a guy talking about with the operator changes, who the best operator agent is, if it's still Jet or if it kind of switches to something else. But personally, I really, really do think that it's still Jet. The mobility that she gets on an immobile weapon is it's too good to not use.
Yeah, agreed. I'll say, as a Jet main, she is, I would say, objectively the best operator agent in the game.
Oh yeah.
I don't think you can think about Jet without thinking about the operator. They go hand in hand.
For sure.
Which is partially why I said earlier in the cast that I would have liked to have not seen those value changes to the operator just yet. I would have liked to have seen nerfs to Jet first, because part of why the operator is so oppressive is because of Jet. Digress on that point. Yeah. Jet, to answer your question, Pluto, is still the best agent, but I'm not going to say that she's the only viable agent on the operator.
No, not at all. There's tons of different ways you can leverage that, and it all depends on your team comp. If you're going to take a defensive team comp or a more pick-oriented team comp, it may be that you put her on a smoker or you put her on the Sova or something along those lines. That all comes down breaking a team comp, when we talked about that in our role episode.
And individual player ability as well.
For sure.
Right.
Like I suck at Jet. Can't play her.
Had a game that we all played together day prior, where I had to fill as an Omen.
Yep.
I was rifling pretty well, which is a surprise. I don't usually rifle that well, but I was doing pretty well. Didn't really want to drop the Vandal, but we didn't have anybody on the team that could really fill that operator role expertly. So I took that and just kind of made it work with Omen.
And
right?
Like well.
Omen is not even necessarily a quote operator agent, but anybody with the op with the right user can yield large dividends.
For sure. I think we had another question. It was about Reyna, because she did get some nerfs in the chat. or we had a question about Reyna in the chat because she got some nerfs. With the fire rate decrease, the thought process is if Reyna is still a decent agent. So I'm going to stand by my statement when we did our tier list last week. Reyna is great when you're great. If you are really, really good at the game, or if you're really, really better than the other people you're playing against, Reyna's nuts and is oppressive, and that's why she got nerfed. But if you're average or not better than the other people you're playing by a large margin, or you're not an aim god, she is worth less to me than like a Viper. And that's saying a lot because I hate Viper.
Yeah, she's half an agent. If you can't hit your shots and get kills,
she is half an agent. Which is just how it goes. She's very high risk, high reward. But if you can manage the risk, that reward is super duper nice because she's got some really strong flashes, and her being able to trade out efficiently by herself basically is absurdly clean when you can do it right.
Huge.
Let's see. Agreed. Is there anything else that had come up on the chat?
I think those are the only two.
We've got all right. Moving on then. We got a little bit of news to go over. Not a lot of news, but a little bit of news.
Slow news week.
For all of you guys, not to gloss over for the people who've been listening pretty actively, the esports section, we are still doing an esports section. Okay, esports news has been kind of dry with First Strike being announced. We're going to kind of talk about it, break it down. But me and Rums are actually going to be starting a esports show. We're going to run it on Mondays called the Runback. And we'll be doing some esports review and news week kind of in a shorter, kind of quick burst, 15 to 20 minute segments. So be on the lookout for us to go live on Monday with that. And then
still
those will be uploaded to
OneTap
YouTube as
cast,
well. Yeah,
just
still
kind of
under the same umbrella.
It's an offshoot, right? I think the idea for you guys is so that necessarily those who aren't interested in the esports scene can still digest what we have to say in the cast as far as improving your gameplay and things of that nature. But those of you who are interested in the esports scene, there's going to be a separate segment on a separate day for you guys to digest. And they're not going to be very long episodes, right, Saul?
No, it's just maybe 15 to 20 minutes, 25 if we have a lot of stuff to go over. Just kind of quick tournament news and like roster updates or news in general. So
good bite-sized chunks.
Yes. Yeah. Be on the lookout for that. That should come out on Monday. But we do have some gaming news. Specifically, I got to see the glorious wonder that is the Pokemon Crown Tundra release. I'm a big Pokemon fan.
Pokemans.
Yeah. Sorry, tripping over my words. But I'm a big
those Pokemans.
I'm a big Pokemon fan.
Suburban Mom Saul.
I've played a lot of the VGC season for this year up until the plague, pretty avidly. So the new stuff coming back, all the legendaries coming back is super fantastic. I'm great to see some of my favorites coming back, and the new Dynamax stuff that they've all shown looked really fun. So I'm super excited for that to come out on October 22nd. The Xbox, going along Smith with him buying an Xbox, the Xbox Game Pass is going to be absorbing EA Play, which is another like pass setting for the EA games, all into one bundle. Still contributing to that idea that Xbox Game Pass is the best deal in gaming, which it's certainly living up to.
Hands down.
Yep. And if you've caught any of our party game streams or any of our after-hour streams after I'm done streaming Valorant on the channel, we have been playing some Among Us because it's fun to kind of kick back and yell at each other for a couple hours. So the Among Us devs have stated that they're going to scrap their Among Us 2 sequel, but they're going to be taking all of those features that they wanted to make and shoving them into Among Us and just revamping that game with its newfound popularity, which I think will help keep the game moving or keep it kind of more popular than Fall Guys was. Because, man, that game died off real quick.
Yeah.
So.
I want to comment on EA Play here for a minute.
Sure thing.
And how absurdly large Xbox is going to be.
Yeah, dude, the Game Pass is insane.
With the exclusive rights that they have gathered within the last year on all these different, developers and producers. That's absolutely nuts.
Well, I mean, just the fact of... So this is kind of what I think is interesting about this console generation as opposed to previous ones, is everything in the past was very much console like wars of who has the best exclusive, who has the best exclusive. And this year, it kind of took a twist in that PlayStation is very much still focusing on exclusive console gamings. Like if you want to play... and I was going to say Horizon Zero Dawn, but that's not a good example because it's on Steam now. But if you want to play like
Spider-Man,
Ghost of Tsushima,
Spider-Man, or like The Last of
Ghost,
Us, or something like that,
you have to
have a PlayStation. But what Microsoft is doing, which is really, really interesting, is they're taking gaming as a service. And they're sitting there saying, look, if you have an Xbox Series X or Series S, that's great. You're going to be able to continue to play like you did. But if not, if you just have a decent PC, the Game Pass Ultimate is an incredible deal. It's saying, hey, look, get everything you would get on the, the Xbox with this service, or the majority of it.
Yes.
Just get it for PC. It is a great valuable. So they're looking at gaming as more of a service of saying, let's get all of these companies, let's get all this stuff, put it under our umbrella, and try to bring in some of that PC crowd into the Microsoft kind of community.
I think that has to do with the whole transition to a subscription-based model on the economy too.
Right.
Everybody's starting to. I say starting to, but it's been around for a better end of a decade.
Years, yeah.
Starting to figure out that there's more money to be made in a subscription-based model
than upfront.
I have a Microsoft specialist friend who he doesn't work for Microsoft, but he has this little anecdote that he told me about 6 years ago that I always kind of kept in the back of my head, that like, what if, and here's Microsoft's plan, quote, what if they just took all of the PCs that they have spread out across the world, which is
a lot.
I don't remember the percentage, but they command a large majority of the market.
Yes.
And then they made Windows a subscription-based market, or a subscription-based model.
Oh, no.
Like you had to pay $100 a year
no.
to pay to get Windows.
Stop.
Be going to Linux,
Please don't give them good ideas.
What would you do?
Probably just go to Unix.
Anyway, we'll just
Apple would be very happy.
I'd go to Unix.
Hat, table that to the
no,
side.
they're not going to. So they won't do that with OS, primarily because of me working within that IT field. Since a cybersecurity networking student, that doesn't work as far as OS does because of the way they send the whole systems and stuff out, and they established that with a free upgrade to Windows 10.
That's the biggest.
They don't care about you putting their OS on your computer because if it's there, you're going to link to the rest of their products, right? They don't care if you have a cracked copy of your OS. Okay.
No.
You can run off a cracked copy and it just be fine. You can't change the colors on your desktop, which is whatever, right?
I will say the subscription ID is why I got out of Microsoft Office.
Oh yeah, that's entirely why I switched to Google Suite. I'm not paying.
Me and Google are good buddies now.
Yeah, I'm not paying like $1, like $120 a year just to type in a Word document. That's lame.
Yep.
But anyway,
just be a student, get it for free.
Hey, you mean like me? Anyway. What else we got? There are a couple other news. PS5 made some news, right, Smith?
Yeah. So this is a rage-inducing week for some people that pre-ordered the PS5. So essentially, a couple days ago, these emails started to come out from Amazon. That said to folks, "Hey, by the way, you pre-ordered the PS5, but you may not get it on release date due to supply and demand issues."
Sounds about right.
What? Naturally is going to piss off some people saying, well, what the hell? Now they're actually just flat out starting to cancel some of these pre-orders.
As you should.
No. And granted, and it's one of those things that I haven't heard a lot of it from other retailers, but if Amazon is hitting supply issues, Walmart, Best Buy, GameStop, they're all going to follow suit.
They always have supply issues, bro.
Tip into Microsoft.
So I very much am interested to see, come November, what is it, November 12th, I think is PlayStation.
Something like that.
When, what is the ratio of people that get it versus the people that don't, or the people that got canceled? I've heard about the email coming out for Xbox Series X about, hey, you may not get it on release day through Amazon. I haven't heard about anything being canceled yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if that follows suit.
No, for sure. Rams, you got one little bright tidbit to exit the show on.
Man, it was a slow news week.
It was a slow news week.
I dug, and the only two things that I even came up worth of mention is that Wardell and Shazam are beefing on Twitter, which is fun. It's always fun to watch.
We'll talk about it on Monday.
Yeah, we'll get there. But it's fun to watch nonetheless.
It is.
So that's news tidbit number one. News tidbit number two, which is the only thing I found pertinent worth mentioning, is that on Monday, so that would have been 2 days ago.
Yep.
They Activision banned 20,000 Warzone players.
Yep.
And that's just a ridiculous amount.
That's hilarious.
Amount of people
banned for cheating. Keep in mind.
Yeah, I should
not just banned outright, but they're banned for cheating.
Not just banned for
cheaters,
conduct, but cheating.
Yeah.
Actual cheating.
Listen, I've seen some crazy stuff on some streamers' channels, bro. It's like Tim the Tap Man. They spectated a guy who was in his chat And he was like, "How long you been cheating?" And he opened the mic. He's like, 6 months. And they're like, "Are you worried?" He's like, "No." And it just continued for like another 2 months, and then the band wave happens. So
I was thinking, at this point, do you really care? Because isn't the new one coming out in 2 months?
It's no. So Warzone's just gonna be a continuation. It's gonna be like a patch.
Oh, so they're actually,
with Cold War. Yeah, they're gonna continue on like the same build.
Point that, yeah, I'd be pissed.
Yeah, didn't the second developer basically get with the first?
And yeah, they're gonna do a continuation instead of a sequel and build on the story.
Good.
It's like a quote sequel, but it's not a separate game. They're just gonna update and patch the first one.
Pretty much.
Gotcha.
Which is super cool. To round out, I do have one little bit of Valorant news in our Beyond Valorant because it's technically outside of the scope of Valorant. I follow the data miners because I like data. Data is fun. You'll hear me say it all the time. But they data mined mobile files for Valorant, which could potentially lead to there being console game files for Valorant. So Riot may or may not be thinking of extending the brand that is Valorant to other to other platforms. Now, one, this is great if there's no crossplay, because this game is not cross-playable. I don't want to have to dookie a kid on PS4 or deal with a hacker on Xbox or whatever. But the option of other platforms coming in to pay Daddy Rito lots of money for microtransactions is great, because that means our game will live and more people will be interested in the game.
Oh yeah,
sure.
But it was a cool data mine find nonetheless. So
yeah. Anyway, I'm interested what the mobile part is, but
yeah, I have no idea. But there were mobile files and things that were tied into things like the Android and Apple iOS like references and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, other than giving me a companion app,
I have no idea. Which that may be it, but still, it's interesting find nonetheless.
Here's another piece of news that I'm going to mention that I literally just saw. Esports Awards 2020 are going on, getting ready to go on, and finalist for Esports PC Rookie of the Year. Sinatra, Wardell, Tactical, DRX Kyria, Spica?
I have zero clue. I don't know.
And then
who that is.
Fultz. They're probably like some different games, but
yeah.
Sinatra and Wardell head to head in the Esports Rookie of the Year. I'm gonna ask you guys, who takes it?
Sinatra. What? Why is that a question? Young gun plays Overwatch for like 2 years, has the best redemption arc in Overwatch, going from toxic like scumlord to redeemable great teammate to then being the Owl MVP on like right after turning 18 or like turning 19 or whatever it was, to going I'm done going to Valorant and becoming an immediate Valorant superstar on the best roster in NA.
Yeah, that's a very
got a pretty good argument.
You don't think this Scumlord, history isn't going to sit there and play any kind of part into it?
No, because he hasn't acted or anything on it again.
It's true.
It's not like he's reverted to like yelling and telling kids that he had relations with their moms back on Xbox. He's kind of reformed for the most part. So I'd be down to see him or Wardell win, to be honest. But I think it's gonna be Sinatra.
Growing up a little bit. Esports Organization of the Year. You have G2, NRG, Liquid, Envy, C9, Space Station, TSM, and Hard Thieves.
This has to be G2.
C9.
Right? No, this has to be G2, right?
I like C9.
I like C9 too, but like G2 is making huge waves in League. They made huge waves in Valorant. They're everywhere they need to be.
Actually dominates a lot of the other games.
They're really good at Rocket League, right?
They're Rocket League world winners. Their Smite was pretty good.
Yeah, they sold that.
Still is.
I'm pretty sure they sold the roster.
Also, speaking of Rocket League, went free to play on Switch for Switch owners.
Barracuda was.
Yeah. Anyway, go look at the awards, all that kind of fun stuff. Please follow the show here at OneTapcast on the Twitch and on the Twitter. You can find me, Solemn FPS. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. Although mostly I'll be streaming here on the show's channel. And Rums, where can they find you?
Everywhere at Actual Rums, one word, spells as it sounds, Rums with a Z.
And Smithel, where you at?
Twitter, it is at Smithel Gaming, and Twitch, twitch.tv/Smithel.
And as always, have a great day, and we'll catch you next time.
See you guys.
Bye.